Good morning. Romania arrives today at the meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs with clear objectives on the security of the Black Sea and on the eastern flank. As you know, last week we hosted in Bucharest the Bucharest 9 summit alongside our Nordic allies, and we come here at the ministerial with a clear message on the need of having enhanced capabilities on the eastern flank, on the need to focus on maritime security. What we've discussed at the Bucharest 9 summit with our Nordic allies as well, and the participants from the United States, was the strategic continuum between the Black Sea, the Baltics, and the Nordics. And a case example of that has recently happened when the Romanian F-16 pilot has successfully shot down a drone over Allied space in a common air policing mission over the Baltic states. And we believe that is a clear example of how we are in the same time security providers to each other, but also relying on the common defense and deterrence factor of NATO. We're also gonna overview the commitments that we have taken in the Hague Summit. In the case of Romania, our budget allocation for this year is close to 3.5%, 2.45% on actual procurement. We're going to have more than half of that budget on new capabilities. And in the case of Romania, we have a strong investment on strategic infrastructure, military mobility, also as a factor to use this moment of time and financing instruments to grow our economy. And we have more than 1.4% allocation this year in the budget in that direction. One of the sources of financing is actually the SAFE loan that the European Commission has signed yesterday with Romania. It's a 16.8 billion loan. And I'm mentioning this because one of the focus Romania always has in the EU and NATO conversations is the complementarity between the efforts that NATO has and the European Union has. We are strong supporters of the complementarity and strategic alignment of the decisions. One focus for Romania has been throughout the year and is in today's conversation as well, the way we answer together within NATO at hybrid threats. We're talking about hybrid threats that Russia is mostly posing, be it on land or sea, in the air, or otherwise in more complex environments. And we have worked in the last month alongside more than 10 allies to put forward proposals of a stronger coordinated response. We're going to host in Bucharest in October the hybrid symposium where experts from every ally come together to focus on the common answer we have within NATO. As we assess that the number and the intensity of hybrid threats, especially coming from Russia, is going to grow into Allied space in the future. Thank you. If you have any questions.
So with the growing hybrid threats, what do you make of the U.S. signal that it may push out, we don't know anymore? Romania has already been subject of a drawdown. So does it unsettle you that it looks like the U.S. will, in any case, reduce its presence along the eastern flank?
Well, here it is quite clear that for some time we are preparing within NATO and, of course, within Europe to adapt to the new U.S. strategy, which in time is going to be an increased focus on Indo-Pacific and therefore an increased strength that is needed from European allies to protect our own space. That being said, it is very important to mention that from the withdrawal of the rotative troops, what we have done with the United States and within NATO as well is we have managed to increase other types of presence. In our case, what was important was our ability to monitor our airspace, especially as we have the longest border with the war in Ukraine, more than 650 kilometers, and alongside the United States, we have managed to increase our capabilities there for defense. And also, of course, the recent examples of Romania allowing for access into our bases for defensive capabilities and logistical support is also an example where we think it is important to showcase that between allies we are security providers to each other rather than some allies relying on others unilaterally. And we believe that is a good example of a constructive relationship. Therefore, our conversation and the position Romania has is that it is a continuous need for U.S. presence on European territory. On Romania's case as well, we have had these conversations with our counterparts that we still think an increased need for capabilities is obvious on the eastern flank and specifically at the Black Sea. And why am I mentioning the Black Sea is we have there a demining experience together with Turkey and Bulgaria. We're at this moment able to share the experience that Romania has on demining, but also we believe it is essential that we protect the Black Sea together as it is a strategic energy source. Romania is now the number one natural gas producer in the European Union, and with the strategic projects at the Black Sea, we are going to increase that by 80%, allowing for more of the energy autonomy needed in the region to decouple from Russian energy sources. And we're also working with US on that in terms of energy transportation infrastructure. There are more initiatives now taking place. Romania has joined the UK-France coalition for opening the Strait of Hormuz, and we have also joined the diplomatic effort of the United States, the Maritime Freedom Initiative, and we're working alongside the Department of State and other countries in that direction. It is a conversation of whether part or significant parts of those conversations move into a NATO format. There's also a conversation we're having at the European Union level, because there's already a maritime security mission that is not at the Strait of Hormuz, but could be reallocated in that direction. And these conversations are developing. But on Romania's side, what I can say is that we have decided early on to get ourselves involved at the diplomatic level and also at an assessment of capabilities in the moment of a ceasefire and peace there, because although we do not have ships in the Strait of Hormuz, it is obvious for everyone that reopening the Strait of Hormuz is an imperative, not just for lowering the energy prices, but also to prevent a food crisis. And we have seen this in another moment in time where we were very close to a food crisis because we needed to find a way to allow for the cereals from Ukraine at the beginning of the war to be exported and reach countries that needed them, especially from Africa. And we have managed there to negotiate what were then called the security lanes through the Black Sea, and that has allowed for basically the world to see the prices of grain lower again. And we are also able to share part of that experience we have gained alongside the countries at the Black Sea. It's an ongoing conversation on all these formats. Something that's very important, though, is that these formats do not overlap or compete with each other, especially as many countries are involved in more than one. So one conversation we're having, I've had this conversation with Yvette Cooper from UK, we're having this conversation with United States as well, is to allow for the complementarity of these initiatives. Thank you.